Welcome back in, everyone, to another edition of the 7D Chipcast here on the Pro Football Enterprise YouTube channel. If you are not already, please get subscribed, turn on notifications so you get updates on all the fantastic content that Ben is just pumping out at this point. My goodness, it's a video every other hour, it feels like at this point. Some great stuff that Ben is releasing here on this channel, so please make sure you are subscribed. I mean, we with Ben, just go ahead real quick. First of all, how are we doing? Then tell the audience real quick about some of the videos you've been uploading the past week.
Yeah, I'm doing great. And listen, we've put aside all draft things for tonight for something way more important, which we'll get to here in just a second. All of you know what it is, but yeah, we released four videos this afternoon. I think there were three mock drafts, three team mock drafts, and then one player prospect profile on there as well. So we're just about to kind of wrap it up because the last day or two you're not going to collect as many views as you will the week or two before. But we've put out a lot. We've put in a bunch of work, so go check it out. This is right here on Pro Football Enterprises, same channel, just different content.
But all you Washington football fans, this is what you're here for. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, we didn't release a video right after it was released, so you've probably already seen this stuff, but you'll get our perspective, our opinions on it. And there are some things that you might not have caught on to. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. Maybe there's stuff that we missed throughout this analysis of these updated uniforms, or rather throwback slash updated uniforms. Um, so we'll get to that in just a second. However, as far as the draft, because we just talked about the draft, Adam Peters, Lance Newmark, assistant GM, they had their pre-draft press conference today. Nothing really came out of it, as you can imagine. A couple notes that I noticed was that, it sounds like if they have to stay at seven and pick, that they're more than content doing that, regardless of not having a second round pick or, another pick until 70. So it goes from 70 to 71. That's a long time to wait. Adam Peters even said so. So obviously you want more picks, but um, it sounds like they're very content in sticking at seven and picking. So my guess is if they have the right opportunity, they're going to move back, but probably they don't want to move too far back, is my guess, based on what they're saying. The top 30 golf visit that they or top golf visit that they have, that seems to be a custom that they'll do now. Um, it sounds like they're fine sticking at seven. Now, where they're going with this, no idea. And it's lion season. They even commented it's like, hey, everyone's lying these days during this time of the year. So again, nothing substantial came out of that other than they're fine at sticking at seven. Not that it was a secret, but they're not going to be trading up. More likely than not, there was a comment made about that, like, hey, look, yeah, we're probably not going to move up. It wasn't the exact words, but nothing out of that. But we're draft is a week from today, or week from the recording, and by this time next week, we'll know who the heck we drafted. So, your thoughts to any of that, Ben?
Yeah, pretty like you said, pretty much standard stuff. On the entertainment side, don't you always wish that there would be just one general manager who'd be like, "Heck yeah, we're going to trade up. We're looking to move on up and
Yeah.
grab somebody. This our guy's sitting right up there. We're going to go up and get him." But obviously these guys can't say that, and you know, he, you kind of sort of have to signal that, yeah, we're totally fine right where we are, man. This is right where we wanted to be picking the whole time, right? And then you just have to leave the door open that, hey, we'd entertain an offer if it came, but we're really pretty much happy right here. So, standard stuff, and I understand it. It's not particularly entertaining though.
Yeah, so I guess we should get to what you're probably all waiting for. What we've been waiting for past 4, even potentially 6 years, is some sort of update, rebrand, and this is as close as we're probably going to get. The door's still open. The door's still open. This is not final. The door is not shut, and we'll talk about that here in a few minutes. But new uniforms. Most places, I see the most teams. The Atlanta, they released theirs last week. Another team released theirs last week, just in the past couple of days. We did, the Ravens did earlier today. The Rams did earlier today. Oh, the Titans did last week. So like this seems to be uniform update season. And we just happen to probably be the biggest one because we're the only team where it really truly matters. If you look at the context of everything, most people are like, okay, yeah, you got new uniforms. It's like, no, 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 you don't understand. You don't understand. So if you're new to football and you're new to the whole thing, it's like, yeah, okay, who cares? But man, if you've been a fan of this team for an extended period of time, you know that this matters. So let's go ahead and get right into the primary burgundy, and it is truly burgundy this time. Now, there's been some people commented on the helmet, oh, it looks too red. Sure, if we want to nitpick, sure, it might look a little too red in some of the lighting. It still looks a heck of a lot better with that glossy finish as opposed to that matte finish. And if you put the two side by side, you'd be like, okay, yeah, yeah, I see what you're talking about. So this is pretty much what, you look at the jersey, the pants, combinations. This is what we had go back 7, 8 years ago. This is what we had. These were our jerseys. These were our, the pants. Now, I will say the gold pants, when the gold pants were brought back in 2010, there was an extra white stripe. So it was a double white stripe with the burgundy stripe in the middle. They have since changed that, and from what I've heard, it's actually more accurate to the pants that we wore back in the 70s. So as to why they didn't do it right the first time, I don't know, but this is what I grew up on outside of the dang logo. That everyone's been calling it the taco holder W. So, outside of that, this is like 95% of the way there. Um, so I love this. I love this look. I'm assuming that the jerseys are probably close to being sold out at this point, especially the Jane Daniels ones. So I'm more than happy with this. Is it perfect? No. But it's what I grew up on, and I'm glad to see it that this looks like what our team used to look like. So I think just that mental when I watched them, like when I was watching them in those ugly, ugly freaking Commander jerseys, it was like a total like separation. It's like who is this team that I'm watching? So when they get back on the field with these jerseys on, I'm gonna feel so much better watching these guys. Um, it's gonna feel like my team again. That's just my that's just how I'm gonna feel about it.
Yeah, and man, I largely agree. I really appreciate the work they put into this, and I like the directions they're going, and I hope in future years that they keep going these directions. I'll leave the logo aside, but the colors that you mentioned, they're getting back closer. I, Listen, we've all got different eye tints, right? But they've worked us back toward the burgundy that it really should be instead of whatever we were working off of the past few seasons. The helmet stripes with the double white and the yellow looks good. The yellow face mask looks good. The white pants looks really neat and trim. That's good. Those burgundy pants to go with either whichever jersey they go with, home or away. That looks great. And then the return of that yellow pants, all that. Yes, thank you very much for putting us back into all of those good solid colors. It was a great look for many decades, and there's no reason it can't be a great look next year too. So I will say my eyes, for whatever they're worth, which may not be much, does tend to pick up more reddish tint on this than say the 80s look, which is what I grew up on and I cherish, but I have no problem with this. This is a really beautiful look here as far as helmet colors, stripes, numbers, jersey colors, pant colors. I think it's a tremendous job here. So I was really very, very satisfied and happy that they took us back to this.
Yeah, and so we'll go ahead and get on to the next one here because it's largely the same, just the white jersey.
Yeah.
Um, again, everything here is what I grew up on. Um, and I'm just glad that we have it back. The white. I preferred the white jersey with the burgundy collar for a while. That had gone away. They had
Hmm.
gotten rid of the burgundy collar, and it was just plain white.
Yeah.
I didn't like that as much. I liked the burgundy collar, and I hope they keep that, um, because it's just a nice contrast. But again, the numbers look great. Um, Logo side, everything else looks great. I can't wait to have these different color combinations back with the jersey and the pants and everything. So yeah, I'm excited. And I'm excited. I'm gonna be excited when I liked the gold pants. I liked the burgundy jersey and the gold pants. I didn't like it when it was the white jersey and the gold pants. I just didn't really feel like that went very well together. I mean, it's better than what we have had, obviously, but um I know they're gonna use the gold pants at some point with the white jersey, or else they wouldn't have put it on here, but I'd prefer the burgundy or the white pants with the white jersey, but that's just a personal preference of mine. It's been that way for a while.
Yeah, the first thing I'll totally agree with, white shirt, burgundy pants is an absolutely beautiful look. And let's not, I know some people that would even say, hey, we don't even care what jersey they're wearing. Most of us do care, we're
Hmm.
rooting for a team. We've seen them a certain way. Somebody at some point in the team's history put a lot of work into designing a great look, and you don't ever want to make it worse. If you can make it better, make it better, but you don't ever want to make it worse. So yeah, it does matter to us. So white jersey with those burgundy pants is a beautiful look. I mean, just absolutely tremendous. And then I'm with you. The white with the white jersey with the yellow pants isn't the greatest look and match, but it's still better than what we've been working off of the past 5 to 6 years. And then the white on white, again, I wouldn't want that. I'm not a huge fan of all whites myself, but as an alternate jersey once or twice a year in a season that's this long, I'm a big fan of those things as well, right? Mixing other things in because, nobody wants the same uniform all 17 regular season games plus the playoffs, right? You want some variety. So I really like what they did here on the white side of things as well. Um, I'm very happy with this look too.
So we're gonna get to this one here. Okay, so a lot of people hated the black jerseys the way that they were. They thought they looked like a Steelers alternate. And honestly, it just didn't look anything like anything that we had. It didn't look like the Redskins. It didn't look like the team that we grew up on. Like, especially the Commanders jerseys, just in general, already didn't look like that. The burgundy ones with the gold numbers, that
Right.
was the closest thing that we had, I suppose, to what we have now. But it just wasn't. Uh, People largely did not care for the black alternate jersey. Um, because I mean there was barely any burgundy on it. It was just black and gold, which is
Right.
again looks more like it's now I liked it, I didn't love it, but I liked it better than some of the other combinations we we had to deal with. This took it to another level to me, and this looks and I told you before we start recording that there have like a lot of these places that sell knockoff jerseys and stuff that already had something very similar, if not exact, to this. To where you had the black jersey, the red solid numbers with the gold outline, or the burgundy solid numbers with the gold outline.
Hmm.
There were a lot of these knockoff places that already had something similar to this. And I don't want to say that maybe we, like the team themselves, had released some sort of alternate, like kind of like a fan edition sort of type jersey, like way back. I'm talking like way back, during like the Clinton Portis, Chris Cooley, Santana Moss days. That era. I want to say the team had released something similar to this look, but um, I don't know off the top of my head. I do like this. Obviously the hot point here is the logo, the alternate logo, the spear going through the W. There's going to be some people out there that say the physics doesn't make sense with the spear going through the W, not all the way through, sort of. It kind of gets cut off halfway through. Look, that would bother me too, and maybe it eventually will end up bothering me. I don't care. I don't care. This logo looks so much better than just the standard W, the taco holder. Um, the spear adds so much to it. Now it doesn't have the feather, I'll give you that. Um, but man, that just looks so much. You just look at it and be like, okay, all right, at least it feels like we have an identity now. What that identity is, still we're still trying to figure that out, unfortunately. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
talk about that again here in a couple minutes, but it feels like okay, like we actually have something that we're doing here. We're going somewhere. Like there's some sort of identity other than this gosh dang plain Jane W, right? So I like this. I don't like the black pant. Like the black pants themselves, fine. But if you're gonna wear that jersey, I'd much prefer the burgundy pants, maybe even the white pants. But I think the true combination here would be that helmet, the jersey, and then the burgundy pants. I feel like that would look really, really good. As opposed to the black. I don't know why you have to have the black pants to, for the alternate, but um, with this look, I would prefer the burgundy pants. But your reactions to this alternate jersey, which I know you didn't like the other black alternate, but your reaction specifically to the logo and then the rest of the alternate uniform.
I'll get to the logo in a second because that's really going to segue us into a different segment here in just a minute as well. But let me hit the black, all black jersey, all black uniform here first. I'm really the wrong guy to ask about that because I'm largely against most all black alternates where the team colors had no black to begin with, and then you start coloring in large amounts of black. I'm just not a fan of. And I told you off there, I'll mention it real quick here on air. That started with me as a kid loving all the beautiful designs I had to watch in the 80s and early 90s. And there came this fad in the late 90s where so many teams across every sports spectrum turned so many of their jerseys black. You had the Duke Blue Devils, who were traditionally blue and white, who had a black jersey for most of the season, wasn't just an alternate. You had the New York Mets, who had this beautiful blue and white pinstripe with some kind of orangish, reddish, reddish orange mingled in, right? They went to the World Series not wearing that beautiful color. They went to the World Series with a black jersey, and I just thought it looked like absolute garbage myself. So, that has kind of already predisposed me against all black alternates when black wasn't a part of the original team colors, right?
Hmm.
That's just me. Who cares? I really prefer for alternates that are going to get away from the team colors. I prefer the whitish looks like the Bengals with that white and black striped helmet that they go with, the snow tiger, basically, right?
Hmm.
Or I prefer chrome looks where a team just really chromes it up for an alternate jersey, right? You have some really splashy silver chrome or gold chrome helmets. I actually think I would love that way better for the Commanders, but that's not what they did. So this black uniform is better than the one they had for the past few years, as an alternate, but not my thing either. The logo, though, thank you so much. Whoever went to work and finally got this put in or had the meetings and talked about it. And I'm sure there were a bunch of meetings. I'm sure
Hmm.
there were a lot. And I'm sure people were at nice at all those meetings. And I'm sure it had a lot of hashing out. And, this is so much better. I really don't need the W at all, ever. You can
Yeah.
get rid of that W and never bring it back. But I'm not going to fuss about that. I'm just going to be so happy that the spear is involved and the spear makes the W look about 10,000 times better. So thank you to everybody who had a part in making that happen. It gives us some character, it gives us some kind of a logo and some kind of an identity instead of that nondescript W, that spear running through. I don't care how many parts of the W it does or doesn't run through. Thank you for bringing the spear in. I am very happy about that.
Yeah. Again, I don't love it. Like the logo itself, I don't love it just in general in comparison to what we
No,
had,
right.
right? I don't love it, but it is infinitely better than just the plain W.
Yes.
See, I don't mind all those black alternates that you're talking about. Like, and I'm not an Orioles fan. Even the Orioles that they never had a black uniform before. Now that seems to be one of the primary, jerseys that they have is the black jersey. So, and then there's been several teams like the Mariners. I don't think they ever had a black jersey before. Then they started, having the black jersey. Um, I can't even think of any of the other ones, but I know there has been a lot of the black kind of where they would do the white, they did the black instead. So I actually don't mind those. Um, for us, it never made sense, until recently.
Right.
But if they were trying to me, like if you're gonna do an alternate, right, this is the way to do it, in my opinion. If you're not gonna do any sort of throwback, right? So if you noticed, these are the primary uniforms and the alternate uniforms. If you remember last year, we had the black alternates, and we also had a throwback uniform, which was this one right, or sorry, this one right here. This was the alternate. I mean, this was the throwback. These were the championship uniforms, if you remember.
Yeah.
We have not said that we have a throwback. So the door for people that are looking for any sort of hope. Will it come back? Will it come back? Name? No, I don't think that's coming back, unfortunately. Would I love it to? Absolutely. Um, could the old logo come back as a throwback? If especially if they did would be able to wear it at the home game against Dallas. First of all, that game would sell out. That game would certainly sell out. It probably would anyway, but you add that bit of it onto that, and that would, I mean, the internet would probably break, at least on the sports fandom side. Um, the door's still open though for that. I really truly think that it is. You look at this, this here, like there's no throwback in here. So, or it could be, since we have the spear now as part of the logo in some form or fashion, that we have, I think that was like early 2000s. We've shown it before, like when Daryl Green was still playing on the team, and it was the really like dark, almost purplish burgundy,
Yeah.
with
Yep.
the spear helmet and like the really like almost mustard, gold mustard pants, It wasn't these gold pants, it was like a really deep, dark gold, almost brownish colored pants. I mean, if they wanted to do those as a throwback, I'd be totally fine with that. I mean, there's so many different things that you could do with the throwbacks. Um, I mean, really, the left-hand side here, the left photo here, you could just do that and just change the logo on the helmet to, the Blackie Wetzel illustration, which is what it was for however many years. So I would love if they were able to do that. And a couple more notes here. If you notice, nowhere on these uniforms does it say the name Commanders. Nowhere. And they can say that they love the name all they want. I look at you look at what they do versus what they say. If they love it so much, it would have made its way onto the jersey. I guarantee you that. So they hate it just as much as we do. I'm convinced of that. They don't like it. They can say they like it, so they get us to shut up about it, which I can respect that. Like they're trying to build a stadium, they're trying to get, improve the organization, look at where it came from. Yes, it's been massively improved, but to think that there's not probably still not work to be done on that is, you're kidding yourself. Giant organizations like this take a lot of time to improve in that regard. So
Yep.
to think that the
Yep.
work is done just in 3 short years, you're kidding yourself, you know. There's probably still some. Now, granted, is it the same organization as 4 or 5 years ago? Absolutely not. It is markedly improved. Absolutely. But again, there's probably still some skeletons in the closet that they're still trying to fish out and get rid of. So they don't really want to be worrying about this. This was their effort. This is what they gave us, pacifying us for now. Now, so no throwbacks. Commanders is nowhere on here. And the reason I think that we couldn't make the spear on the primary helmet is because teams are not allowed to change their primary logo for 5 years. It's been 4 years since 2022 when we released the ugly freaking Commander uniforms, okay? So next season or next year, there is the potential then to change our primary logo. What that ends up being, I'd see one of three options. One, we go with the current alternate as the primary, and then we could potentially change the alternate. We could keep the alternate and change the primary, or we just keep it the same, which is the last option is not the same or, not the ideal one. But, if we change the primary, there's a few options out there I can think of, you know. So, for people that are still looking for hope for any return to a full return to normal, it's still there. It's not likely, but the opportunity is still there, and I'm holding out hope for another year or two to where and maybe they save this, right? Maybe we just have to suffer through this. I say suffer. Everything looks fantastic except the logo. Maybe we have to go through this for another couple years and they bring it back when the stadium's built. Because at that point it's like, okay, we paid for the team. Team at this point has probably skyrocketed in value. And then we come home to RFK with as us, basically. Short of the name, we come home, everything the same. And tell me, and if especially if they're trying to sell season tickets, that would be a huge marketing ploy if they changed it in 2029, because the stadium's supposed to be done by 2030. If they changed it in 2029 and, they have everything ready to go, man, tell me that wouldn't, because everything, I mean, it's like, okay, stadium's built. What are you going to do? Take it away from us? What are you going to do? Take the team away? It's like, no, find me the person at that point that's probably going to pay 10, 11 billion dollars for a franchise, you know? So it's like, good luck with that. Now, again, we are talking about not just Josh Harris. There's 23, 24, 25 other partners that are in this deal. It's not just his money, it's all those other people's money, plus the NFL, plus sponsors, plus all this other stuff. So there's a lot of roadblocks ahead, but the door, believe it or not, is still open.
It's a great point you make about the timing because I personally, along with the W, hopefully disappearing and never coming back in this form forever. If, I mean, I don't care if they bring back a prettier W somehow. I would love for the name Commanders to just completely disappear and never come back in any form ever. But there is some time into this. Not only trying to figure out what they can do, but when they want to do it. You mentioned they can't actually change the logo till next year, even no matter what they wanted to do. So that's a great starting point. And then the politics of it all, not just with the old name and logo, but man, how many voices there are. You mentioned all the different other people besides just Josh Harris that are part stakeholders in this team. And then how many other voices there are. That's, just the fan base itself, our voice. So there's a lot of voices that come into play here, not just from a political side, but just from an opinion side, right? So we'll
Mhm.
we'll see where they go with this logo. I figure and I hope the W goes away and Commanders goes away. I figure at least the spear by next year is here to stay. I figure these true historic colors, I hope, are here to stay. And then if we can improve the spear somehow to a more real, actual logo, like every other franchise in North American sports has, and like we always have had, then I'll feel a lot better about it. So I do like the direction we're going. We'll probably see part two of the direction either next year or the year after. It's kind of sort of hard for me to imagine that they're just going to keep putting off this logo thing for another 3 years, right?
Yeah.
I kind of sort of don't think that's going to happen. So, but we'll see that, they may be testing the fan base right now and seeing how happy we are with a spear running through a W and with a return to more historic colors. And if the satisfaction goes up and the grumbling goes down, then that may be where it sits for 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think they would have to, because I guarantee. So, the team store was open for a long while yesterday or whatever day. I don't even know what day it is anymore. The team store was open whenever these uniforms were released. And based on a bunch of pictures that people had posted online, videos and everything, most of the new merchandise had the the alternate logo, the spear logo. So I don't think they like the W either. I don't think they like anything about the brand necessarily. I don't think they like Commanders. I don't think they like the logo. I don't think they like any of it. Clearly they don't, or else they wouldn't have done an alternate logo if they loved it so much, right? So everything they had selling, I would assume for about 90% of it had the alternate logo. I feel like that is significant because they're like, hey, get used to this. This might be the new norm. Obviously, I don't want it to be the new norm. It's definitely better than what we've had. But, I mean, if this is the compromise we have to make, I won't like it, but it's definitely better than what we've had. So I can't complain too much about it. Do you feel like that there is any significance in them not even having the name Commanders anywhere on the jerseys?
Yeah, I figure so because you were great to point that out. I didn't even process that, before you pointed it out before we did our show. I do feel like there is. I feel like that's at least a willingness to step away from that being your main identity stamped on your own uniform, right? I do feel like whether they themselves love the name or not, at least they're listening to the fan base that we don't like this stupid name, you know. So,
Yeah.
um, it's not the worst name in the world, but it's just so freaking generic, and it's so colorless and bland that you're like, yeah, give me something better. So I do feel like there is a significance to it, and it probably is it does feel like a soft launch of these colors and this type of logo with maybe even a soft stepping away from the idea of commanders being the focus. So I think that's right.
I mean, if you're gonna keep the W, I mean, even though it's still a generic name, Warriors would be better than Commanders.
Yes, totally
I,
agree.
I mean, again, you'd be sharing it with another major sports franchise. There'd be a whole thing about it that people aren't going to be happy with it because that would be probably final. There's
Right,
probably not going to be another rebrand for another 20, 30 years after that. So it'd
right.
be
Yeah.
mostly final.
Hmm.
But again, not ideal, but maybe you could bring back the logo at that point in some form or fashion. Just the name Commanders. It sounds like the team that plays against the Harlem Globetrotters that loses all the time.
That's exactly what it sounds like. It's I understand the world that we live in, but there's still plenty of names out there that do mean something and that do have you know, a character to them that people can be happy with. So, let's develop something along those lines.
Yeah, and to the people out there that think that, oh, this doesn't matter, you guys need to get over it and all this other stuff, like, oh, Commanders is a great name. It's like, who are you kidding yourself? Like, come on, guys, stop it. Like it this 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 uniform release and everything has gotten so much attention from our fan base that you'd be stupid to ignore it, right? There's a reason they did this. It's because people care about it. The fans care about it. Okay, so to just be like, oh yeah, Commanders is fine. The uniforms have been great the whole time. It's like, no, they haven't been. You're kidding. You might like them,
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with liking them,
Right.
but to say
Right.
that they've been the best thing and everything, no, no. I'm sorry. You can never convince me of that. And to bring back down other people, it's like, yeah, just leave the name alone, leave the branding alone. It's fine. It's like, no, I won't. I won't be. You can be. That's fine. That's on you. But to bring down other people in the process is like, why? It's like, why are you trying to thief their joy, you know, or their attempts to potentially make it better? It's like, I don't get that. Unless you're so against the old name, which you weren't. If you were so against the old name, you wouldn't be rooting for the team. Um, yeah, I don't understand that. I know there's some prominent people in the fandom out there that are trying to, you know, ignore that, and I don't get it. But anyways, this is what it looks like. What I do love about this, there's two things there's one thing I love, there's one thing I don't like. The Raise Hail down here is the new motto. It was HTTR, now it's Raise Hail. The thing I love about this is that R. That's the Joe Gibbs R. That he wore a lot, especially Gibbs 2.0. The old Redskins, kind of in cursive there. Um, so they it's still there, sort of. It's sort of still there, but just as Rays Hail instead of Redskins. So the thing I don't like is, again, we have to compromise some way, but they seem to be going towards this Roman Empire gladiator kind of branding with the spears and this shield that's in the bottom right here. Look, it's fine, but I prefer to keep it more open for interpretation to allow for further other things to happen than to be like, this is what our identity is, you know? Um, Again, it looks fine, objectively speaking, it looks fine. I like it, but what it implies basically is what I don't necessarily like about it.
Yeah, man, we've talked about this before. If we can't get back old logo, old name, I'd rather have just a beautiful spear that the spear itself is more generic, like you said, but a good looking spear. But I'd much rather have the Roman version of shield and spear than the crap we've dealt with for the past 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So I would much rather have that. And I really do believe because even the Romans and not everything the Romans did. Romans were very had a very cruel civilization going on themselves at times, in addition to a lot of knowledge and learning that was going on. But there was a lot of symbols that could be used there too that would just look really cool as far as a football team goes. This isn't a 5-year-old daycare. This is a football team. So, you know, there are ways, even looking at that shield right there with two spears pointing through it, I like the spears and the shield idea, but I will say I think that circle is just too busy. It has too many things going on inside of it. So that 1932 and the commanders and the W and the stars, it's just too much. I would probably get rid of that, turn it into just a real shield, maybe with a letter in the middle, and then maybe even change the shield style because I realized that would be one of the Roman shields, but the Romans would have had more than one shield that they worked with as well. So if there was
Mm.
something that had a little bit more nuance or detail to it, but I'm with you. We'll see what they feel like they can do. I understand there's a lot of voices on this subject, so they're going to do what they feel like they can do and still keep as many people happy as possible. I understand that, but the spear thing is the best feature here.
Okay, I think I'm done with all this uniform talk. Look, I'm glad it's back, I'm glad that it's, updated, based on what we did have. Um, and I hope that there's further steps taken in the future. Um, so yeah, I think overall they did great with what they had. Um, I'm not going to complain too much about there's sure there's a bunch of nits to pick, but I'm not going to complain too much about it because for the time being, it is the middle ground, and I can't complain about that because they're trying, you know. Now,
Yeah,
this would be the spear down here that we're talking about. That would be the excellent one if we could make that somehow the
that's a
primary.
better
But
looking spear.
it
Yes.
is, it is. So if somehow we could do that, that'd be fantastic. But obviously, probably not realistic. But anyways, did you have anything further on uh, uniforms or anything Commanders draft related? Because next time we talk, it's probably going to be we're going to have probably someone at 7 to talk about. So
Sorry, my final thoughts on the uniforms are I really do appreciate the efforts they're making to try to listen to us as a fan base. You're rarely going to get things where everybody's happy. Matter of fact, I don't think it ever happens. So, to try to get as many people happy who do care about the team, I think that's the important thing. And it does feel like they're trying to do that with as much as they can. And then right here on Pro Football Enterprises, you can see The videos we released just today got four of them. So that's 6 million views on the Chiefs mock draft and 5 million views on the Saints mock draft and so on and so forth. But we do have some very good mock drafts sitting right there. They're not too long. Either that Jets one got way longer than I expected it to, but the Chiefs and the Saints is not long. And then Vega Iwane, go check him out. I think you'll enjoy the talk on him as well. Thank you.
All right, we will see you all next week with some new members of the franchise. So, new members of the teams that's going to wear those wonderful, wonderful new uniforms. So, we will see you all next week.